Greetings, Namo Buddhaya. I am Professor K.T.S. Sarao, former professor and head of the Department Buddhist Studies, Delhi University. Today I shall be talking to you about module number 24, Origin and Development of Mahāyāna Buddhism. Mahāyāna, that is greater vehicle, and Hinayana, that is lesser vehicle, are the two traditions of Buddhism. Mahāyāna arose as a movement within Indian Buddhism around the beginning of the Common Era. Soon it spread to Southeast, Central and East Asia. Today it has a dominant position in the countries like China, Japan, Korea and Vietnam. It is apparent from the literary sources like the Deepvansh that within the 2 centuries after the Mahaparinirvana of the Buddha, the Buddhist order split into 18 schools. At the same time, a new trend was growing among the Buddhist followers, which in course of time fructified as the emergence of Mahāyāna Buddhism. This school dubbed all the pre-existing Buddhist sects, that is Pari-Mahāyāna Buddhism, as Hinayana. The exact date and place of the advent of Mahāyāna Buddhism is unknown. The term Mahāyāna along with Hinayana appeared first in the Mahāyāna texts like the Sudharampundarik Sutra, the Prajna Paramita Sutras, etc., composed in between circa 1st century BCE and 2nd century of the Common Era. Although there is no evidence for the existence of Mahāyāna prior to the 2nd century of the Common Era, it may be assumed that the trend of its development began to crystallize earlier by incorporating and reinterpreting the fundamental teachings, spiritual ideas, beliefs and values of existing Buddhist schools. The newly emerged tradition places greater emphasis on the twin values of karuna, that is compassion, and prajna, that is wisdom. The bodhisattva who devotes himself to the service of others becomes a new paradigm for spiritual practice, as opposed to the arhata who is criticized for leading a cloistered life, devoted primarily to the pursuit of self-liberation. Schools that embrace the later ideology are henceforth termed as Mahāyāna. Literally, the term Mahāyāna means greater vehicle in comparison to the previously existing schools termed as Hinayana, that is lesser vehicle. Technically, Mahāyāna refers to the path which aims to liberate all beings from the state of suffering. The definition of the Mahāyāna was, though, intended to establish the Mahāyāna's superiority over the teachings of Pari-Mahāyāna sects, but it has no historical basis. The Mahāyāna texts also identify this path as Bodhisattva Yāna, Paramita Yāna and Buddha Yāna. It is called Bodhisattva Yāna because it is followed by the Bodhisattva, a being who strives to attain Buddhahood while inspiring other beings to attain liberation from the cyclic existence of rebirth and death. Since this sect emphasizes on the attainment of Buddhahood by practicing Paramita, it is called Paramita Yāna. This school aims at the attainment of nothing less than Buddhahood. It is also known as Buddha Yāna. According to the Mahāyāna Sutra Alankar, Mahāyāna is called so because it recognizes the infinite sutra and shastras related to the Shravakyan, the Pratyek Buddhayan and the Bodhisattvayan as authentic teachings of the Buddha. It emphasizes on the practice, that is sadhan, of helping other beings attain Buddhahood, called Prarth Patipatti, practice for others' welfare, rather than attaining Buddhahood for himself, called Swarth Pratipatti, that is, practice for self-welfare. It attaches much importance to both the knowledge of Pudgal Nairatmya, negation of self, and Dharma Nairatmya, that is the negation of Dharma. Out of the two, the Dharma Nairatmya is extremely subtle and difficult to understand, and it is opposite to Jnaya Varana. Having destroyed all the obscurations by developing Dharma Nairatmya, omniscience is attained. This is why the Dharma Nairatmya is considered the highest cultivable state than the negation of self, which enables one only to the attainment of arhatship by destroying the obscuration of defilements, that is Kleshvarna. Its objective is to attain Buddhahood, which in comparison to the attainment of Arhathood requires vigorous effort for long, which may vary from 3 to 5 eons, that is kalpas. It attaches much importance to upaya kaushal, that is skillfulness in means, to inspire sentient beings to proceed on the path of liberation. It believes that Buddha displays different characteristics in order to inspire human beings to proceed on the path of Bodhisattvayana, such as Bodhisattva's descent from the Tushit Lok, entry into the mother's womb, birth in the lumbering groove, etc. Some of the scholars consider Nagarjuna, Asanga, and Vasubandhu as the founders of Mahāyāna on account of these 2 points. One, the Mahāyāna tradition considers that Mahāyāna sutras like Pragyaparamita Sutra, Sadharma Pundrika Sutra, etc., which were kept hidden in the palace of Nag king, were unearthed, interpreted, and made known to the public by Nagarjuna. Hence, scholars regard Nagarjuna as the founder of Mahāyāna. The texts like Madhvacharya's Sarvdarshan Sangrah, Shankar Bhashya on Brahma Sutras, and Gunratna's commentary on Shardarshan Samuchaya refers to the 4 Buddhist schools, namely Sautantrik, Vaibhashik, Madhyamik, and Yogachar. Of these, the first 2 schools belong to the Hinayana and the other 2 to the Mahāyāna tradition. Nagarjuna was one of the great exponents of the Madhyamik school, while Asanga and Vasubandhu were the 2 noted proponents of the Yogachar school. Due to this, these texts consider Nagarjuna, Asanga, and Vasubandhu as the founders of the Mahāyāna Buddhism. However, if one historically were to know who is the founder of Mahāyāna Buddhism, the Mahāsanghikas could be regarded as the founders of Mahāyāna, because the Mahāyāna doctrines represent the exposition of introspectional and ontological perceptions of the Buddha. Without a human agency, the transformation of the introspectional and ontological ideas of the Buddha into a sect of doctrines was not possible. Neither it could have been done by the Sthavirvadins, as they were ultra-conservative and willing to preserve strictly the Buddha's phenomenological doctrines without delving into his ontological ideas. But some of the brilliant thinkers among Buddha's disciples were progressive and not content only with preserving the Buddha's teachings without delving into Buddha's introspectional ontological perceptions. Consequently, as is evident from the historical facts, the Mahāsāṅgikas, who were considered the heralders of progress, plunge deep into the matter and shift out the truth. So it will not be wrong to say that Mahāsāṅgikas were the forefathers of Mahāyāna Buddhism.